Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yachts. This is episode 30, and we are reviewing AEW's Full Gear. And I am with Instagram's The Wrestling Superfan, and I'd like to apologize for some of the audio mistakes that are happening. I'm trying to figure them out. Unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I may switch to another platform of recording and transfer it over. That way it may be easier with group calls, because I'm only having problems with two people, and usually I'm doing this over the phone. So enjoy the episode. I'm sorry for the audio problems, and here you go.
All right. Well, we're back. Hey, so I'm back with the Wrestling Superfan. Thanks for being on the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right. Awesome. All right. So I wanted to start with the top three matches. What were your top three?
Well, my number one match was FTR versus the Young Bucks. That was an amazing match. I loved how their styles clashed, and it's clashed well. Their chemistry was great in the ring. You got the High Flyers versus the technically sound tag team, and me personally, I like the technically sound tag team. I like FTR, and because of the stipulation, I knew that they wouldn't win, but still happy with the match. Great match. And the number two would be probably my number two match would be Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. That was a very good match. Eddie Kingston is very good. He's a professional. Remind me a lot of Kevin Owens with his passion and everything. And, a lot of people don't know about, Eddie Kingston, but comes from New York. But, man, he plays the character well, and he's a character that you can really invest time in and understand where he's coming from with his character. He's believable in a way. And they have history. Moxley and Kingston have a lot of history, and that played in that if you really, really paid attention to their story and where they come from. It's like two guys from a hometown who are fighting to be at the top. And even though they're, inside the squared circle, they're enemies, but outside you can tell they're close friends. It's like a love-hate thing. And my last favorite match would be Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. This is going to be Kenny Omega's year coming up in 2021. I guarantee it. There's a better person to face Jon Moxley and take the title off Jon Moxley than Kenny Omega. And people have been waiting for Kenny Omega to make his rise, and this is it. 2021 is going to be Kenny Omega's year, the cleaner.
I agree. My top three, I would say the Young Bucks versus FTR. Awesome match. After that, I like the TNT Championship, Darby Allin versus Cody Rhodes. And the next match for me would probably be the Omega versus Page in the finals. So let's move on. We're going to go from the top to the bottom. So we're going to start with the main event. Moxley defeating Eddie Kingston, a very brutal match with thumbtacks, tons of things. You took a lot of notes. Let's hear your notes, man.
Well, I would like to say that Moxley versus Kingston was, in the words of Jim Ross, JR, slobber knocker. They're perfect for each other. I know some guys growing up that remind me of these two guys, like playing basketball growing up. I played Division I basketball, and some guys where I come from played too, and we grew up together as friends. But on the court, totally different story. We were enemies, man. We wanted to compete. We wanted to go at each other. And then off the court, we were friends. And you can tell that, like I said before, you can see that with these two guys. And then, the barbed wire bat from Jon Moxley, he brings out the barbed wire bat. There's a bunch of blood. The blood didn't last. It was almost like it wasn't real, but there was an image of blood in the beginning. They didn't bleed a lot. The fans were chanting for Eddie. If you can't remember, but Eddie had a support system there. There was a lot of fans chanting for him. Bat to Eddie's face. Eddie selling like a pro. Mox got the bat grinding in his face. Suplex counters. it's a great war at this point, and Kingston has great facial expressions in the ring. He tells a great story with his facial expressions. Some hard chair shots. You know, Eddie Kingston, man, he's grimy. He's ratchet. You know, people used to say Sasha's ratchet. Well, Kingston's ratchet. Fist with the barbed wire. He wrapped a little bit of barbed wire around his fist, punching, spin back fists. I think they call it the Arakan or something like that, with the barbed wire, the Kimura lock with Kingston and you know, Kingston's just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like this match. I like the brutality. I think I told you off the air that we needed. I just wanted a little bit more blood. I like the spot with the what was it, the rubbing alcohol. I thought that was a unique spot to hit something, you know. So I haven't really seen that done well. I agree with you, the barbed wire and everything. The Garrett wire, as soon as I saw that kind of telegraphed the finish for me, so it ruined it a little bit for me. One of the things I liked that this match did is it played off of, they had an amazing promo on AEW Dynamite, and I thought that really set the stage for what they needed to have, was a hard-hitting match. And as soon as the bell rung, you saw Jon Moxley just come right out of the gate with these stiff shots. Boom, boom, boom. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was good. And then at the end, we got the tease of Omega versus Moxley, which was really cool to see, because I think that's the match everybody wants to see. And as you said at the very beginning, Omega is probably going to be the guy who defeats Jon Moxley. I don't think anyone else can. And since they seem to be very hell-bent on keeping their stipulations, which is why I don't think Cody Rhodes is ever going to challenge for the title again. I mean, that was one of the things Meltzer brought up, is he said that they are very adamant about keeping the stipulations. Like if the Young Bucks did not win, that was going to be it. They would not win. They would never get the titles again, because they don't want to like just do what WWE does and, you know, switch the tie, you know, just break these stipulations that they set up. But overall, I thought Moxley and Eddie Kingston had a brutal brawl. I thought it was good. Let's move on. What'd you think of MJF versus Jericho? And the thing about this was MJF wins. He gets to join the Inner Circle. And MJF did win. It's an interesting way he did it. What were some of your notes?
I like Jericho in this match. You know, and I like that he put over MJF. Who knows what story we'll get out of it, but we're all interested to find out what the story is going to be. But again, Jericho still doing Hurricane Ranas at 30 years old. That's incredible. You know how many matches he's been put on so many bumps doing Hurricane Ranas and stuff, man. MJF, 24 years old. What will he be like when he's like 30? He's naturally talented at this. And I think he's going to be one of the next greats in this business for real. As much as we hate him, we love to hate him. He's like a big love to hate guy. And so these two in a match, I was not a fan of their performance that everybody loved so much, where they were sitting at the table with the steak and all that. I was not a fan of that. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a little bit too, it's just a little too inside. I don't know if it's inside, but it's
too goofy for wrestling.
Like
I thought it was too goofy. Like, no, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I agree.
Jericho again, though, taking it back to New Japan, holding the camera, giving the bird to MJF, holding the camera. That takes it back to New Japan. He did that there. And then I remember MJF counted a Judas effect into his version of the Fujiwara armbar, the Salt of Earth. Then Wardlow came out of the ring.
Yeah. I really like the finish that he did there, where he puts on the ring. You know, we think he's going to use the ring, but he doesn't use the ring. Jericho's got the bat, and he just drops down, pulls a little Eddie Guerrero, and then he rolled him up. Yeah. And I was like, that's brilliant. I mean, after Jericho getting beat that way, why wouldn't you want him in the Inner Circle? Although I think that's going to lead to Do you think Wardlow is going to exist well in the inner circle? He seems to me to be like on the verge of becoming like a Batista and just like getting out of there.
I definitely think he's going to break away from this whole thing altogether and become a babyface. Who knows, what happens from there. But yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of
I
what
think this is what I think.
But
I think this leads to a split with the whole inner circle, and Jericho and MJF possibly could work together as a team for a little bit. Maybe.
I don't know, because he said in interviews he keep the inner circle like the Four Horsemen. Like he doesn't want them to ever like really break up. So I think most we would probably see is like one of them breaking away, which I could see like them turning on Wardlow.
Well, I can tell you,
so that he gets.
I can tell you one person who's going to break away, and it's got to be Sammy Guevara, because he does not like MJF. So you got to think that he's going to end up becoming a babyface eventually, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so. Which, well, we're going to get to Sammy Guevara. I've got a lot of things to say about the next match. Anything else to say about MJF? I mean, it was a pretty clean, straight match. I liked. Anything else?
No. The chair shot, it was a little different outcome with it. It's always been the same when you see it, but this time it was a little different outcome, something you wouldn't expect to see. And that's all I got. I thought it was a solid match.
Yeah. Me too. All right, now we're leading on to a match that I thought I was going to hate, but I ended up liking this match a lot, and that was Elite Deletion, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. This was I ended up liking this a lot. I thought I was going to hate this, but it was more like what they did in TNA, which was more enjoyable, or Impact, as opposed to what they tried to do in WWE, where it didn't work to me. But this was more in that realm where it was off, it was off the wall and kind of crazy, but it was still kind of grounded in reality. I liked that aspect of it. It seemed to be more grounded in reality. What did you think?
I feel the same way that you did. I thought this was going to be stupid, especially when I saw they were doing this cinematic style match. But this was one of the better ones to me. They told a good story of what they did. Sammy shows up in a golf cart. Vanguard won in his face, or Vanguard, whatever his name is now, the new Vanguard. He's like, he says to Sammy in the camera, like the Terminator, "You were dumb AF to come here." And then Matt Hardy's monster truck called Straight Jacket squashes the golf cart. Then Sammy gets out and he hits him with the trash can, hits the moonsault off of the truck wheel, and then they start wrestling all over the compound. I liked it.
What did you think of the cameo of Gangrel? We haven't seen him in so long. I
loved it. I couldn't believe they were allowed to say Gangrel, because there's such a hard copyright on that name. But you notice they called him by his real name too. He showed up with the Hurricane.
Also goes by.
So Matt lit up Sammy in the grass. Sammy covered in mud. He tried to throw him in the lake of reincarnation. Gangrel and Hurricane showed up. Hurricane Helms and then Private Party worked on Gangrel. Matt and Hurricane breaking kayfabe. They were taking some shots at some WWE-related things.
Yeah. He says, "Well, I couldn't do this till I got to AEW."
Hence the end of this match.
I just thought that was great. Because that's what I loved about like the original, deletion matches and Impact, was they were kind of like breaking kayfabe a while, but not a way where it was like, in WWE it was kind of like, what is this? This is like another realm of reality. I like the fact that this was just kind of grounded in reality. It was like, the Hurricane's just been hanging around since the last final deletion. Till he could do the match again. And I was like, that was funny. And then he brought his wife back, and the pop, Senor
Senor Benjamin.
Oh. He's so great. He doesn't have to do anything. And he says, "Senor Benjamin, take him away." And they cut to him, and you could hear the crowd. They just were like, were on their feet for him. It's like, I don't think he ever showed up really in the WWE ones. Like he showed up like 1 or 2 times. I don't even know if they called him Senior Benjamin, which I was kind of like. Rebby was never, I don't think, in any of the WWE ones. I see Rebby. I was hoping. I mean, I know they can't do it. It was, he'd probably get fired or it'd be a legal thing. If they had Jeff Hardy show up, but he showed up like in a mask or something.
They did.
Like we know who that guy is.
They did. Senor Benjamin had a few appearances in WWE as Senor Benjamin, actually. And another part of this match, if you didn't notice the background, they did a little artsy thing. You saw a casket. Why was a casket back there? There was the mower of lawns and the chair of wheels, Rebby's piano, and it looked like an old school bird cage, but I don't know what the hell it was. Sitting back there.
And when Sammy took the swanton off the ladder, I'm like, that looked hard hitting. It did not look
a 20-foot ladder
bump at all. Yeah, that was. I mean, like, but the way it hit like the ring, I was just like, wow. The Hardys must have like one of those hard rings that like they got rid of in WWE, because it was like, ooh, wow. I would not want to take that. And then he, when they dove over the rope. The thing that was the most brutal was that chair shot.
Threw it in his face.
Threw it in his face. I was like, that's poetic for this whole feud, because it
started like the edge of the chair, though. It wasn't just the chair. Through the edge of it, right in his eye sockets.
Look, brutal. I was like, ooh, it looked like a gunshot. Like I was just like, ow. I mean, the concerto is easier to fake, but the shot, just his neck, it was just like, or his head, I was just like, wow.
That looked like.
And you heard Jim Ross. That was one of the best things about the Elite Deletion was Jim Ross gave it like stakes. Like he was selling the carnage. Whereas a lot of times they just kind of play it off as like, I don't know what we watched. And it was funny. Whereas Jim Ross was like, that was a brutal shot. He sold that. I thought that made what happened work better. And one thing I have to say is when they got out to the pickup truck, Sammy Guevara was not in that trash can.
He wasn't. You could tell.
They threw it as like, that feels empty.
I thought the same thing. I said the same thing to myself. A nice spot I liked about this was when Sammy mocked Matt Hardy with the delete sign, and then he nailed Matt swanton bomb with a swanton bomb from the top of that 20-foot ladder.
Yeah, that was brutal, and yeah, that was a good. Yeah, he did do that. I just like this match. I was so shocked. I thought I was going to hate this. I thought it was going to be like the Boneyard match, and I was just going to be like, what is this? But it was pretty good. Anything else to say about it till we move on to I think the best match
just
of the night.
To please help me take out the trash to the private party, and that's it. We can move on.
Great. All right, so now we're on to Young Bucks versus FTR. What can I say about this match? This was just great. It had stakes. I was like kind of on the edge of my seat. There were a couple of falls there where I was like, oh wow, they might actually beat them, because I was floored. I thought this was a great match. What did you?
Such a treat to fans who really know what real tag team wrestling is, man. FTR, they coming out looking like $1 million in their entrance gear, some new entrance gear we never seen them wear. It looked like the Young Bucks were the Lakers and the FTR were the Celtics, the green and the FTR were wearing, and the purple and yellow the Lakers were wearing. And my favorite team is the Celtics, actually, and my favorite color is green. And I was already rooting for those guys, even though I didn't want to see the Young Bucks not challenge for the titles again. But yeah. Good match. Excellent match. Finally, finally you see a tag team match that actually means something again.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought after that match, I was like, they should have closed the show.
That was just about this.
That was
Think
just
about this. Look at the seat. Like they paid homage to all the great tag teams. You had the Steiner brothers, who were more like FTR and the Hart Foundation. You know, those FTR did their moves. Then you had the 3D and the Twist of Fate and the Swanton Bomb from the Young Bucks. Like that was a nice little add in there with the story they were telling, because they're the two best tag teams in the world right now.
I just thought it was, I mean, the way they worked, you know, just dragging him over.
Yeah,
you know?
cutting off the ring. I love that stuff. And I love the little clause where FTR has to use the rope to tag in. They use the little tag rope. Nobody else uses the tag rope. That's a nice little add to their gimmick.
And I like the fact he was hurt. He couldn't hit the Meltzer driver. That was the one thing I was like, how when he was getting, like, when they took his sock off and like it beating his leg in, I was like, okay, how is he going to hit any more moves? It reminded me of when Taker got beat up by Triple H at WrestleMania 27, and like he couldn't stand it. I was like,
I was at that
how's
show.
he gonna win? Oh yeah, you were at that show.
That was an awesome show. It looked bad on TV, I guess, but in person, it is a great experience. It's just for that match alone.
No, when I even watching at home, I was like, okay, beating him so bad. How's he gonna win? And that's kind of how I felt with this Young Bucks match. It was like, I was like, okay, how are they gonna do this? How are they gonna get to the finish? And when he hit the pile driver, I thought, it's over. I mean, is he gonna run into the ring and save it? It was so many things. I was just like, because one of the things AEW has done is they have stuck to their stipulations. So if they do something like this, you're not going, they're going to get out of it. It's like, when I heard Dave Meltzer say, it's like, no, Cody is never going to get another world championship match. That is like the mandate from the company. And I was like, wow, that's like, if this was WWE, that stipulation would have been gone like 6 months later. And they're still keeping it a whole year in, and they would have done the same thing with the Young Bucks. So it was like, I was on the edge of my seat. I'm like, I want to see these guys win these championships.
Here's another great thing about that match.
Wow.
The Young Bucks were doing wrestling moves to FTR's liking. Like they were doing mat wrestling. They were trying to do that. But how about the 450 splash from Cash? The super kick. He did super kicks.
Yeah.
He did the 450 splash. Like Cash Wheeler was doing Young Buck moves, and Young Bucks were trying to do a little bit of mat wrestling.
It was great. They told a great story of it. Like FDR came in and was like, yeah, we're gonna one up you, Young Bucks. And Young Bucks are like, nah, we're gonna one up you.
They
on
lost
because
they're doing flips and fists. That's not what they do best. Just kidding.
And then they did, and then the double sharpshooter spot. I was like, that was good, and I like the way the Young Bucks do the sharpshooters. They kind of because they do it similar to Bret Hart. It's not
the
like
Rock.
Kind of the way the Rock pulls it away, and I'm just kind of like, I know he's doing it to kind of like add his own flavor to it, but it just looks not that painful. And I like the way the Young Bucks, they would sit
and they
down
do it
and
stereo.
I
don't always do it just singly, they do it in stereo. I like that.
Yeah, and this was so good. I was amazed. I was like, these guys, I want to see a rematch like the next pay-per-view, because they were that good. I mean, I don't know if they can do that. They'll probably do a rematch probably on maybe the Thanksgiving show. That would probably be a smart way to do a rematch with the FTR and versus the Young Bucks, but it was really good. I mean, for the build wasn't as well as I'd like, but the match, wow.
Yeah, so they ended with Cash hits the super kick, and then he gives the two sweet, then two birds, and then super kick Cash, and then Matt super kicks, and then the Bucks become the champs.
I mean, it was so great, and I love the selling of it. Like you didn't feel like, he wasn't hurt. There was something about the way he was selling the leg. It reminds me of how Okada and Tanahashi will sell a leg. Like Tanahashi will hit that dragon screw, and like you feel it. Felt the same
I
with the Young Bucks. I was
love
like,
when they work
oh,
on one particular body part, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Bret the Hitman Hart, because it's so strategic. Like, it's realistic. You work on one body part, and then you tell the story from there. I love when they do that.
yeah, no, I mean, I always would have loved to have seen Bret Hart like do a Hell in a Cell match, because it would have been so unique and different than any other Hell in a Cell we've seen. Like, he wouldn't rely on spots. He'd find a way to make the cage the weapon, like he did with like he would do like in a no holds barred match. He would use like the ring as a weapon, as opposed to let's just go to a bunch of weapon shots and we'll call that a match. But yeah, this was just
Before we go into
so
the
good.
match,
Probably,
let's talk a second about Dustin Rhodes announcing a bunkhouse match this Tuesday on Dynamite. I remember Bunkhouse Buck in WCW. That's kind of like a throwback to him. The Nightmare Family is going to face, I think it's Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah, they're going to face Butcher and the Blade. That should be a good match. I mean, I love the private party match they had with the man, I keep forgetting their names. The guys
Proud
in the
and
inner
Powerful.
circle. Proud and Powerful. A hard hitting match, and I'm like, that's what I like about AEW. When they have these hard hitting matches, they mean something. They're not just let's do a gimmick match for the sake of doing a gimmick match. You feel them, and they're different. And I just appreciate that. Anything else to say about the Young Bucks versus FTR?
My favorite match right there. Great tag team wrestling. Perfect story told from a tag team wrestling standpoint in all ways that you look at it, to me.
Yeah, mine too. All right, so now we're getting, Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. Shida retains. What do you think?
Sorry to say that I did not pay much attention to this match. I actually got a phone call and I wasn't paying much attention.
Me too.
Even though I really like Hikaru Shida, she's great. But what are they getting at with this women's division? You get Nyla Rose get screamed at by Vicky Guerrero, and then she's just like, she's like actually like she's scared of Vicky when she should have been having Vicky picking her teeth up off the floor or something. Like, it's a throwaway match for me. This was the only bathroom break. This is your intermission right here. As much as I respect Hikaru and the women, they just don't. It just doesn't click with me.
The problem is they need more like really good women wrestlers to have these kind of matches that they want to have. That's why they got to get a Tessa Blanchard. They've got to get somebody that Hikaru Shida can face and have those classic matches, kind of like what Bayley was for Sasha Banks. They were Charlotte. They had this group of 4 that they could build around, and everybody else could like get better. And then they added Asuka and stuff, and that's what I think. I think that's what they need in AEW, because I mean Hikaru Shida is good, but she's like the only one that's really good, and everybody else is just kind of good, and you can kind of see that. I mean, they're not diva matches.
It's just full of a bunch of women that are not well seasoned. They're still green. There's a roster full of green women that have potential, and that's the thing. That's a building process with AEW. WWE's got that on lock. That's the best thing that WWE has going for themselves. But AEW is building on that. They're trying to develop that. They don't have that quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think. I know she's got her problems, but if you can mend those problems, she could be like the heel in the division that could bring everybody up.
Yeah, she's like China of this generation, but with more wrestling skill and with a history in her legacy.
Could actually, yeah. I mean, I think that's what's missing is they just need a couple more. I'd like to see them get what's her name? What was her name? The one that did that funny dance with
Emma?
Santino.
Emma.
She's wage.
Her name's Tennille
Emma.
Dashwood.
Yeah, Emma. Yeah, Tennille Dashwood. I think she would be a good addition because she could, they could do more. They just need more people who can work. I mean, maybe they can get Paige, because Paige will probably not work with WWE.
What's been going on with that Twitch?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, we're done with this match. So let's move on to the TNT Championship: Darby Allin versus Cody Rhodes. Darby Allin beats Cody Rhodes in a hard hitting match. What'd you think
I
of
thought
this
it was
match?
a good match. It was a solid match. Darby Allin showing how quick he is. He's quicker than a hiccup. A little JR right there, man. And Cody just got frustrated with him and couldn't put him away. He wouldn't stay down, and then eventually crushed Cody's frustration, got the best of him, and I knew this was how it was going to end. When I saw the roll-up sequence, I knew this was the end, that Darby was about to win. They did a little roll-up sequence, and the match was over.
But they did a good job of teasing a lot of near falls that I thought, like when he hit the thing off the top, I thought that was it. And they did a lot of things that
again, let me just say this:
things.
Cody working a body part. He hammered that hammerlock. He worked that hammerlock the whole match.
Yeah,
worked on that arm, that left arm, and I love when they tell stories like that.
Yeah, that's what gets you invested, because then you're like, "Ooh, how's he gonna hit that move if he's that hurt?" It adds that dimension to the match that you just don't get if they just get up and go, "Okay, I'm fine." I'm like, I want to see them selling the body part and then trying to figure out a way to get into it. Christian was very good at that in WWE. You'd see him hurt his leg or something, and he would work that whole thing throughout the whole match, and you can feel it. And I want to feel that when they're, I want to be like, how's he gonna win? As opposed to, okay, now it's time for my Superman spot.
And then Cody, let's not forget that Justin Roberts announced Cody tonight, not as Cody, but Cody Rhodes. He got the right to his name back. And then on top of that, we get Mike Chioda calling this one, which I love Mike Chioda. I don't know why they even got rid of him.
Noted that. Oh yeah, you're right. Mike Chioda did call the match, so I guess he's now working.
Got some kind of deal with them going, because that's not the first time he's worked with them. So is Earl Hebner. He's worked a few matches here. You got Arn Anderson coaching Cody from the outside, telling him to muscle him around because Darby was just working his speed all over Cody, and then that was when the hammerlock took over.
And I like that, after it was over, Cody, he showed, the sportsmanship. Here he is holding up. He's like, take it. You won. I kind of wanted them to hold that moment more. I understand they wanted to do an angle afterwards, but I kind of wanted him to just have that moment. What did you think? Do you think they needed the attack?
See, I like the ending too, and I agree. It was a good moment, and you can tell that Cody is very, very invested in the wrestling business and just trying to make guys. Like he's more worried about making people than becoming a champion, as he kneels and hands the title to Darby Allin. It was a great match, and Darby deserved it, just like those fans were chanting. And then you get Taz coming out and saying he's tired of the hugs and tears, and tells them to take their BAs to the back, and then they're ambushed by Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. And I respect Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. I'm not really much of a fan of Ricky Starks. I don't know his look. I just don't like his look. He's not a good wrestler, but I just don't like the way he looks. And
at one point when he came in kicking or whatever, I thought he was kicking his partner for a minute there. And I was like, did he get confused?
Yeah. What was with the tug of war little tease thing they did there? And then Taz took the title away.
Yeah, I guess, that was a tease or whatever. And doesn't what's his name? The Machine. What do they call him again?
Call him the Machine. Brian Cage.
Brian Cage. Yeah, that was it. Doesn't he have a title already? He's got the FTW.
Which to me, they've proven that title still doesn't mean nothing. It meant way more back in ECW with Taz.
Taz introduced because he was like, nobody would face him. Like, he couldn't get a world championship with Shane Douglas.
But
so he's like, all
it
right,
worked then. It's not working right now.
No, they haven't. Well, they haven't focused on it enough. I think he's done a lot of his
who
matches
should
on
have that
After
belt?
Dark, and I'm sorry.
Let Lance Archer take that
What?
belt from him. He'll make it be worth something.
Yeah, that would be a good feud. They could just. The only thing is they're both heels.
Lance Storm, if you saw that I said Lance Storm, Lance Archer. You saw that promo tonight with Jake Roberts, where they're outside somewhere, like in an alley, in a dark alley somewhere. Man, that was great. Jake's a Snake Roberts, such a gem for a manager. Oh my gosh.
Speaking of backstage stuff, I got to talk about that Miro and Best Friends thing. Why is Miro like a goof? He needs to be a serious character.
He looks great in the ring, but then he's got this storyline, and I hate his music. I'm the best man, like in the arcade. Yeah, he fits. He fits in there.
Yeah,
he's very believable in the ring, but then they put him with Kip Sabian. But let's be patient here, because this is going to end up going sour eventually.
Yeah, I think so. It's just, I don't know. I would use him better, right? I'd use him more as the muscle, Although I guess since they've already got two guys doing that same gimmick, I guess in some ways it's probably better for him to do it differently. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on there.
Speaking of Rusev and his love for games, how about AEW announced that this Tuesday at 6 p.m. they're going to have AEW their first game.
I cannot wait. I am hoping it's going to be the announcement we're all hoping for, which is the return of the No Mercy engine and the guys making it. I think that's what, because I know that Omega said he's been him and Cody were like really working on trying to get those guys back.
I saw that a few years ago, and I hope that too, because that's my favorite wrestling game of all time, and I would love to have that on the next gen system in a modern day form with those guys.
You imagine, having that No Mercy, and imagine the creative characters you can create, and like, oh man, it's gonna be. I can't wait. I'm getting so excited. That is gonna be so cool, because they're not gonna disappoint us. They wouldn't do a press conference if they were gonna just do, like, I don't know if you ever bought the TNA game, which was just that was hard.
I had it. I tried to play. I was like, why is this game so difficult to play? This is awkward. It sucks. It's corny. And then I didn't play it anymore.
I played it like one day, and I was like, why did I buy this game? Can I
we
take
can
this back?
There's a lot of gamers in that AEW company, so that's something good. We know that game is going to be worth something.
Yeah, it's not going to be like the WWE game they got today, where like, what are they, bosom buddies? I'm like, I'm not buying that. Yeah, Battleground, and it's just like no, this is not what we want. We know you messed up the last game because the guys left, and you guys just let a company that had no idea what they're doing just take the same thing and be like, look, we can do it too. No, you messed it up. Like that game, like if you go to YouTube and watch the glitches for what is it, 2K20, it's just
I've never played that game.
It's just awful. Where Charlotte like won the match and she's not even in the ring.
I posted some highlights from that.
What is that? All right, move on to the last match. Omega versus Hangman Adam Page. Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page. I love the intro that he keeps doing. It reminds me of Running Man, that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, with the cleaner girls coming out and everything. It feels so.
I don't understand that though. They could do without that for the cleaner character.
Yeah, no, but I think the whole idea is like, that he hasn't turned heel yet, but I think that's I think that's the angle we're building towards, where he's gonna lay out
Hey, before you start on
Moxley.
this, you forgot about Orange Cassidy, John Silver.
Oh yeah, I've got that written down. You're right. Let's go back. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I wrote that on the side here. Yeah, Orange Cassidy versus John Force Silver. Cassidy wins. This was a good match.
I
My
thought that
favorite.
it
What'd you
showed
think?
that John Silver can go. John Silver has some talent. It's too bad that they don't have a cruiserweight title in AEW, and it's pretty much impossible because most of the roster is full of cruiserweights. But if they could have a cruiserweight division, he'd be one of those guys that would stand out in it. And he.
I think they want to stay away from the cruiserweight.
They can't have it in
AEW
because most of the guys are too small. But what I'm saying is, if they did do something like that, he would be able to hold a title. I can't see him holding a title right now unless it was some gimmick title, which AEW should not, venture after. But he definitely has talent. I don't watch BTE too much because it's just too much out there to watch, and it's just my priorities. But I hear a lot of good things about him, and I've seen what people are talking about just watching him in the ring, and what I've seen from him lately. They're putting him in the spotlight a little bit more, and he showed that he could be entertaining tonight.
He's over. People love him, so I'm like, he's not my favorite, but he gets a reaction. People like him. I'm like, go with it. I'm always like, if the fans are reacting to something, go with it. Don't do what WWE does, which is like, let's just kill it, or let's do it like 3 months later and
burn itself out organically.
I like that. Exactly. Let it happen. If it's real, it'll sustain. Like Orange Cassidy's sustaining. I mean, they made a great decision not like doing anything with him at first and just having him kind of like be the what is it? The best friend's guy there, and now kind of gets to go on his own. It's interesting. He makes it work. It's not my favorite thing, but people like it, and I'm like, go with it. I would rather see. I like seeing a roster full of guys that are all over and are doing different stuff, and I applaud that with AEW. So.
Bottom line, I say that this match was intended to showcase John Silver's abilities. Orange Cassidy for the win.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, back to Omega.
This was a good, solid match. I think these guys have very good chemistry together, and they show that they can do a lot more in the ring together. This match was not their best match that they could put on, and you can see that. This match was a good, solid match, but these guys could put on matches at different levels. And we saw, you could see great things for these guys. I think it's a rivalry that we will be seeing for years to come. It's going to make Hangman Page. It's going to help Kenny Omega in the long run for these two guys to be a long-suited rival.
Do you think we're going to get another Omega Page match like in November, December before he faces Moxley? Or do you think he's going to be like the first guy that challenges Omega when he wins the title? Or do you think he's the end destination to the guy that actually beats Omega?
There's a lot of scenario. Wrestling's so subjective, and it could go any of those ways. But what I think is that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega are going to have a match on Dynamite before the next pay-per-view, and they're going to tear the house down. You think about Pac versus Omega, how big that felt for us when they were on pay-per-view, and then they went on and put on a huge 30-minute Iron Man match on Dynamite. That's one of that was like a great moment. So I think that Omega is going to face him again on his road, but Hangman Page is not going to stop Kenny Omega from being the man in 2021.
Yeah. One thing I kind of want Paige to kind of snap out of is the drunk thing. I thought it was cute for a while, but now it's like, okay, I want to see him get a little bit. I don't want him to be like Orange Cassidy, where it's like you throw a drink in his face and
it's definitely overdone. They did an interview on Dynamite where Paige was sitting with, I think it was JR or somebody interviewing, and he was drunk. It was like the middle of the day. It was pre-recorded. Then he comes out on the show at like 9 o'clock and he's got a drink. Like, he would be wasted. Like, just drop it already.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of like I like the drink thing for a little while, but I don't want it to like consume his whole
I agree.
personality where like he's just a drunk. That's my only problem with kind of Hangman Page, because he's so great in the ring, but then he's doing these like promos where it's just kind of like, what is he doing? Now, speaking of promos, did you see the promo for Pac?
I
I thought
actually
that
missed
was
that. I saw parts of
really
it, but I
cool.
was occupied with something. I know he had like a bunch of figures of him in the background or something while he was talking, but I didn't get to see it yet.
They filmed it like really well. I don't know. It looked very cinematic. I was really impressed. I was like, that was pretty cool. But maybe he's the guy that Page is going to fight for a while.
But
Pac, well, after Omega and Page, because Omega's got to get to. I think the heel turn is going to come from
I think
him attacking
should be
Moxley.
a heel.
I think.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Testing it, like he's kind of teasing it, but like he hasn't done anything like dastardly where it's like, I thought at the end of this night he was gonna lay. But let's talk about the last match, and then we'll talk about the very ending of the pay-per-view. So the NWA title, Serena Deeb versus Alice.
Allison Kay.
How do you pronounce her name? Allison Kay, yeah, and Serena wins. You watched this match.
It started off with some
did.
nice,
what
mat wrestling by Serena Deeb to start off the match. You could tell who the veteran was in the match. Kay had some decent power moves.
Yeah.
Serena Deeb, she's a solid worker. Something about the match though, it felt flat. Transition seemed slow, and it didn't tell any type of story with their wrestling. It was almost like like you're in the performance center or something, doing a training match or something. I've never seen one, but that's what I imagine it's like from watching the match.
That's kind of feel like a lot of the matches in AEW kind of feel like they kind of feel like you're watching them practice.
When the match the match was over, Deeb, she retained, and Rosa comes out. Yeah, she came out claiming her desire to regain the title. Overall, the match was just there. Solid wrestlers, but the match was just flat. But Rosa, she's a star. I love her.
The only problem I've got is, okay, I want Rosa to come out and like face Hikaru Shida. I really don't want her, I really don't want to see angles for the NWA women's title, with girls that they kind of need in the main event, in their main card with the
Thunder
title,
Rosa. I had wished that she took the title from Hikaru Shida in that last show where they faced each other, because she just came off instantly. I watched NWA when it first started on YouTube, and then I lost track of it, and I didn't get to see her run there. But from the first time I saw her and the first time I saw Hikaru Shida, they both caught my eye, and I like both of them. But I wanted to see Thunder Rosa take both titles because she was from another company, and it would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. All right, so that's AEW Full Gear. I thought this was their best. I thought this was their best.
Some other side things that I love from this was there was a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling references in this. They mentioned in the Kenny Omega Hangman Page match, they mentioned the match with Okada. They mentioned the match with Hangman Page between Kenny Omega at Wrestling Dun Taco. Don Callis on commentary. He did comment in Japan with JR. It just feels like, and there were some other New Japan references in this show, and they got a new president. I would just love, how amazing would it be if they really did a real partnership like back in the day with WCW did.
Here's the scenario I think might happen is sometime, because well, I feel like Jay White is on his way to getting his run with the IWGP championship, like a real run. And I'm thinking Omega's going to be the champion, and one of the two are going to show up on the shows and challenge. And we're going to have like champion versus champion, not title versus title, but, the two champions in facing. Or they could do something like with where Okada comes down there. But I feel like, yeah, you're right. It's inevitable, and I think it's happening. I think needs are happening. One thing that's interesting is the next AEW pay-per-view is not till February 27th. That's yeah, February 27th. That's like 4 months away. So
it's funny because you said 27. I'm thinking February 21, and then you said 27, like 2021.
Yeah, 2027.
Like what?
They've the next pay-per-view. Years.
Yeah, but some other things real quick that I wanted to touch on about that main event. The power bomb on the outside was brutal. The Tiger Driver 98 looked like he broke his neck. The Dead Eye looked like he broke his neck. There's some brutal spots in that match. That Hangman.
Yeah, no, they worked hard, but I was just like, I kind of wanted them to have like 30 minutes and not
it was
like
perfect for an opener.
I don't know how long did they go
for the opening on the show. It's perfect to get you going.
Super. But I want to see.
But
them,
you know it's coming though. You know,
steal the show.
A lot more matches, and they're gonna be all awesome.
Oh no, it's. Now we got at the end of this show, Omega came out and he didn't lay out Moxley, but he basically said, "I'm coming for your title." And I thought that was good because I mean that's the match everybody wants to see: Moxley versus Omega. One of the great things about AEW is they've protected these matches. Like they didn't just run through Mox and Omega. We've only seen it once. No, they didn't run through Mox versus Jericho 20 times. We've seen it once, and I like that. They've got a deep enough roster where they can protect the guys, and you don't have to just okay, let's do this 3 times in a row. So I thought this was a great pay-per-view, and I think they've led. They planted seeds for the next one, and yeah, I'm happy.
Mox versus Omega. They've already had their history from the start. So this storyline continuing later on makes sense. And like I said, it makes sense that Jon Moxley loses the title to Kenny Omega in the future, and there's no better person to take the title off of him and to build Kenny Omega 2021. Once again, like I said, the year of the cleaner.
I agree. It's perfect. Moving on. So I wanted to talk a little bit about New Japan. So Jay White defeats Kota Ibushi for the briefcase. I don't think that's ever happened. They've never really had somebody win the G1 and then the guy lost the briefcase. So that's kind of historic. So I think Jay White is on his way to defeating Naito at Wrestle Kingdom. I think that's where we're headed. I mean, Naito could defeat him, but the way they present Jay White, he feels like Okada when he started coming into New Japan. They protect him. He barely does any jobs, and he's always around in the main event.
I definitely agree with you 100%.
What do you think?
The way that they built Jay White, they've made him look strong, even though he's lost a lot recently. But you look at how he's evolved. He's changed his body. He's got a different look. He looks more like a star now. I buy into him even more now. At first, I didn't buy him as much. I saw that he had talent. Kind of reminds me of a Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus a Triple H for New Japan. Kota Ibushi won the G1 2 years in a row, and I think only 2 other people did that, or one other person has done that, something like that. And he won last year, and then out of nowhere, Kota loses to Jay White. It has to be. And Naito, we all know Naito's runs and how they've been recently, and I could just totally see Jay White beating Naito at Wrestle Kingdom. And who knows, though, New Japan is that main company that you just can't tell what they're really going to do. I didn't see this coming. And I didn't even see the show, but this is just what I've seen just from, browsing the internet and social media and stuff like that. But I definitely could see that Jay White walks out of the Wrestle Kingdom as the champion.
I think that's the way to go. Give him a year-long run, and he's like one of the perfect guys to like take the Bullet Club and invade
Amazing. And
AEW.
something
I
else I
think
could
that would
see
be a great
is
storyline.
Evil, who was the man, and then Jay White takes back over the throne. They get in a rivalry. There's some tension between the Bullet Club, and then you've got some little side feud. It's not going to break up the Bullet Club, but it's
Well, they teased that when Jay White came out in the main event between Evil and Naito, and he acted like he was going to do the Blade Runner to
I didn't
him,
see that.
and then he did it to Naito. But Kodo, kind of ran him off. But yeah, it seems like we're going to have something like that. But I think the Bullet Club invading AEW, now that I think about it,
that would be
like
a dream come true, man. That's like a perfect world right there.
That's the way to do it. Throw out that scenario I said there. Have Jay White come in and be like, you guys say you're the best, you're the elite. Well, I ran the elite out, so I thought I'd come here and face you, Kenny Omega, champion.
Think about guys that you would see going to Japan to AEW. Cool. Think about God going to AEW and beating up tag teams over there. Like, oh my gosh, like God, they're top tier. They're one of the best tag teams out there,
dude. Oh man, that's getting me excited. I hope they do. I really want to see that. Do the invasion, although I'd like to see them do it kind of in June, because I think we'll probably have fans back, And what better way? Almost right around when did the NWO start? That came in 96. So this would be 2021. 15? So I don't know how many years is that. In something like that. Have them come in and
man,
I just think that's the way.
And everybody's turning the channel to AEW. Then if they don't, even if people don't know, I don't see why they wouldn't, because they hear the buzz.
That's what they need. They need that buzzing moment where you go, ooh, that's different. That's got everybody talking, and that would be something there where, like, man, if they do it right, which I think AEW can do it right, if they did in WWE, you looked at Retribution, they couldn't even do it for 2 months.
That's terrible.
They killed it.
But
it's so bad. It's like the worst way to do an invasion. What is with this company? Can they just not do an invasion? I mean, it's like the easiest storyline in the book. It's created so many territories. You can look at ROH and CZW. You can look at ECW when Jim Cornette came in. It always works. The only place it doesn't work is WWE. They messed it up when Ric Flair came down there. They had the real world champion, and they couldn't make it work. It's just amazing, and it's like, but that's the way to go. Bullet Club invades AEW. That's the way they got to do it, man.
The possibilities are endless.
Oh man, I'm getting excited.
Do it.
As it happened. Yeah. All right, so that's the main things that happened in New Japan. Oh, and Will Ospreay came out, and I think Okada challenged Will Ospreay, and so they're going to fight at Wrestle Kingdom, and that will be an amazing match because I think Will Ospreay is going to be like the Kenny Omega for to Jay White's Okada, like the guy that comes up, you didn't.
He's another guy I'd love to see wrestling AEW, and Kazuchika Okada is my favorite New Japan Pro wrestler. He's one of the best in the world, and how awesome would it be to see him just make one appearance in an AEW ring against a Kenny Omega or a Jericho or anything.
That match, if they get Okada.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd agree to do that. Japan probably wants that match. You're not going to steal our thunder.
That's where they got to do something where it's like, okay, we'll do one, and you'll do, and you'll do one. Like they do one in AEW, and then the next one.
It's not going to hurt AEW at all.
Yeah, they would give that because man, those two are just oh man, they've got to partner up. They're perfect for each other. So many guys could. I mean, can you imagine Minoru
Running
Suzuki
ramshot on
coming in
anybody
and
in AEW.
man, so good. Oh, so good. And I like that AEW's kind of taken the idea. AEW's kind of taken the New Japan route with the stables, where you've got Chaos and you've got Bullet Club and you've got Lij. And I like that. It's not this. It's not necessarily like an NWO stable where they're like always hanging around together, but I like the idea of having these stables. It helps get guys over, and it just I don't know, it works. All right, so those are the good things. Now we're going to move on to the bad things. We'll talk about Raw. The only thing that happened is Braun Strowman qualified for the Survivor Series match that I could care less about. Matt Riddle wasn't on the show, which shows how insane they are. And Drew McIntyre defeated Miz and Morrison, who are just like jokes, and The Fiend laughed, and that was the show.
I love WWE. I love them, but
so bad.
If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be a fan. But what they're doing right now is just a joke. They need to evolve.
Just they do need to evolve, but that's not happening until Vince McMahon leaves. To SmackDown, this was a little bit better. They started the show with Sasha.
I thought it was a good match, but I knew who was going to win because of the way Bayley was selling everything. Oh, she can't hold a title after she loses the title on her first defense every time, so you knew it wasn't happening again.
The announcement, they telegraph everything. Oh my God, it's gonna be nope. Like you almost know as soon as they say that's
it. The match away, even we already know.
Just ruined it. I know, it's so bad. Baron Corbin fought Rey Mysterio or King Corbin. I call him Boring Corbin because he's boring.
As a wrestler, I respect him. He's gotten better. I just don't. He just doesn't appeal to me.
He's boring. The last time he had great matches was with the guy who also wasn't on the show, Chad Gable, who has finally dropped the Shorty G.
They even bought a trademark for that.
So dumb, and never like somebody that. Yes, I want the Shorty G gimmick. Had Jay defeated Owens after they had an altercation because he said something about him while he was having coffee, because so many great feuds have happened where they're discussing coffee. All I think about was Chris Jericho versus Kane, where he spilled coffee on him. He just flipped out. He's like, sorry, champ. But this was not that. This was Jay versus Owens. I like the idea where Roman said to Paul, "That's why I hired you. You're supposed to take care of all my things."
It's got Paul Heyman's like his whipping boy.
Yeah, he really is. He's his agent, his publicist, and his manager all in one. He's like, you take care of all my personal
would just
problems.
Let Jimmy and I don't know when Jimmy's coming back. I wish they would just let those two guys just all flat out be genuinely with Roman and be badass heels, and that's it.
Yeah. They would bring back Jacob Fatu. I wish they would get Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I know you're talking about
in this group that from MLW,
Rowan Dynasty.
Get them in there. It's the way they're doing it. I'm sorry, but the only end game I see with this angle is The Rock. I don't see how else they're going to do it. They keep bringing up the tribal chief thing. He's the only other. Yeah, exactly. He's going to be like, you may be the head of the table,
me,
but I'm the chief.
It'd be great. It would make Roman.
How great it'd be. I mean, what else? Who else is this going to be? I hear Dave said that the next guy Roman is going to feud with is Daniel Bryan, which will be good because he'll work off well with him. You know, the guy that gets everything versus the guy that had to work for him.
But this is the thing about it. It's going to be a good match, but we already know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
How about Aaliyah Mysterio?
Yeah.
Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, and this whole Buddy Murphy thing. I hate it. She's
like
19, she's 19 years old, and he's like 33 years old. It makes no sense. It's stupid. And her acting is terrible.
It's so dumb.
They just threw her to the sharks. Go here, sink or swim.
Bad. I hate it. So bad. It's so
hey, just think about how
bad.
long this storyline has been going on between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. This is go back all the way. Just think about how long ago the eye thing. Oh, eye thing.
He lost his eye. Like, why would he? And that's the thing. He lost his eye, and like he's not even that mad about it. Like you would be like wanting to kill.
On top of that idea was stupid to begin with, and it goes back to like the last WrestleMania. It was almost a year ago, and it's not worth it. The storyline's not worth it. I don't know. It just feels like it was at least that long.
Is that where it came from? It feels like forever. And Dominic, the more and more I see him with his father, he just feels like, Ray's kid. Like he's never going to get out from under that. Just Ray's kid. And I'm sorry, he just doesn't look like a wrestler. He looks like if you want to talk about
my daddy doesn't.
Wrestler,
I'm going to be my daddy for Halloween.
Cosplay wrestler. He looks like the guy like on SmackDown versus Raw, or like here comes the pain,
him, and you
created
him intended to be Rey Mysterio's son
before you would change him.
But apparently he wants to be Prince Mysterio and wear a mask in his real career. So I'm not going to count the kid out just yet. As of right now, you're right.
That
it wrestled with two eyes.
Maybe they can blind him, and he'll. We'll have two blind. They can be the blind men. Two blind guys. Oh man, WWE is just so bad. Yeah, I mean, here's another guy who wasn't on the show. And I read Meltzer said the reason he wasn't on the show was because creative didn't have anything for him, and that was Big E. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have anything for him?
If they were going to break New Day up and make Big E a singles guy, they should have already had a plan for him. They shouldn't be work off the whim now. That's not going to work.
But they don't have a plan. And the only thing I think they have a plan for is the tribal chief, which makes me think.
What's The Rock doing in the movies?
That's got to be The Rock, because that's the only thing they would plan for. Yeah, so I mean, bring him down. Come on down. So Survivor Series, we're gonna get.
I'm fine with it. I think he deserves that. He deserves whatever that he wants. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. It's not our moment. He made that moment. He made us. He made himself. Yeah, we made him, but Undertaker deserves anything that he wants. And I always wanted to see his last match be it where he started the Survivor Series, but I'm okay with it being just some kind of farewell. Hopefully they do it right. I would think they would do it right, seeing that this is the Undertaker. They're doing this whole month-long thing on the network with him. So I think it's going to turn out to be good. It has to close the show. It wouldn't be right. How would you not close the show with that if you're going to advertise that as the Undertaker? And I know that it's not about the old guys; it's about the new guys.
Come on. We've got Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. We've never seen that match.
That's a weird matchup. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with that match, but it's just weird because they're both heels and they're the way that they're being heels. Yeah, fake boos. And I hate the whole thing in the Thunderdome with the thumbs down crap. Everybody, like, where are real fans? I know there's some fans out there that want to do the clap thing. Like, They want to
Is
clap
that
their hands, but you see nothing but, oh, got my thumbs down. Like, it's so
what happened? They
I know. I actually got in a Thunderdome once. And they were like,
well, they're
all right,
directed
let's
to
show
do
the
that.
universe
They
how
act-
you feel about such and such coming out to the ring. I'm just like, this is stupid.
Okay, wait. Okay, you have to talk about that. You have to talk about your Thunderdome experience. That's our next side test. All right, tell me about
All
tell
right.
me about being
So
on
I'd
the
rather watch it
Thunderdome.
on
Let's
TV.
move to
It's
that.
stupid
I have
because
to hear
the
about
chance
this.
of you getting seen on TV are like 1 in 100, 1 in a million. And on top of that, who cares if you get seen on TV? I'm 34 years old. I don't care about being seen on a freaking digital screen at this point. I'd rather be seen on TV in person. So it's stupid. One, and then they try to tell you what to do. They'll go to a commercial break, and then when it's about to go back on air, like 10 seconds before it goes back on air, as if you were on the set of Jerry Springer, they say, all right, everybody put your hands in the air and wave them so that they see it on the WWE Universe. Or, all right, tell everybody how you feel about Roman Reigns.
Wait, so who's directing?
It is a guy on screen telling us
you?
to do it.
Like,
Somebody
is there like a
who's
guy
that's their
on
job.
screen that's telling you to do this?
No, it's not anybody noteworthy. It's just some random dude who's got a job in WWE.
Cheer.
And it's I'd rather I did it once, and I was bored one day, and I was like, "Ooh, let me see if I can get in here." Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not hyped about it. I'm gonna just try. And so happens I got in. I was like, "Oh snap! I got into it." All right, well, let's see how it is. And I did it. I had to watch it from my laptop. It kept buffering, and sound was off. And then they kept coming in with, all right, everybody, let's tell everybody how you feel about Bailey. No, they didn't tell you who to boo and cheer. They just told you to tell the audience or tell the wrestlers how you feel about them when they show up on the screen. And I'm just like, all right, so why is there so many people? Everybody has their thumb down for the Roman Reigns, where a few months ago, if you looked in the crowd, even back then, as much as fans hated him in the past, people were cheering for him. It makes no sense. Yeah, they probably didn't want to put me on there because I wasn't putting the thumbs down.
We have a boo
for the people
soundtrack on there. It probably feels like being on like like a taped show for like being an extra.
I just thought about it. They probably look at the screens because I know they have a lot of people looking at who shows up on the screen. And they're like, whoever's got thumbs down, let's put them on the screen. The ones with the thumbs up and they're cheering, we're not going to put them on the screen for people to see. We're going to put them so they can't see them. It has to be that way. There's so many thumbs down for Roman. Everybody had their thumb down for him. And not everybody would have their thumb down for him. For anybody, for that matter.
Best character on the show. That's why he has to face The Rock or Daniel Bryan, or he's probably going to get
anybody
cheered.
who WWE portrays as a heel.
They had
you look
fans
on
right
these
now,
Thunderdomes.
Nobody's
they show the fans that all have their thumbs down. You don't see anybody clapping or cheering. I look.
Other than Seth Rollins,
I'm not with Rollins right now. I never was big
so
for him.
annoying.
I always said that Dean Ambrose was my favorite Shield member from the get-go.
Yeah, so. I mean, they gave him. He had every opportunity to get over. He got to defeat Brock Lesnar clean, decisively. He's like one of the only guys to do that. And then he cried to the Fiend because it's Bray Wyatt in a mask. When we saw him like cowering in the corner, I was like, who told him this was a good idea? Okay, Seth, we need you to cry in the corner. like Austin would have been like, I'm not doing that.
Ain't no way in hell, son, that I'm going to do that. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. What?
Like, is Seth, but also Seth did himself no favors when he started going on there and saying, well, we're just as good as New Japan and AEW. Like, no, you're not. Yeah. What show are you watching? All right, man. So
yeah, we covered everything.
I think that about wraps it up with everything here. I think we've covered everything. So yeah,
definitely. And if you're not already following,
I
go
will see
follow the
you
Wrestling
next
Superfan
time.
on
All
Instagram.
right.
Best Instagram page out there, I promise. If you're a fan of wrestling, you will be following my page.
That's right. He's awesome. He's got ECW stuff. He's got WWE stuff. He's got everything, and he's got ECW clips with the music from the time, not the WWE copyrighted whatever that is. So that's one of the best parts. His page is awesome. I love it. Everything's great. Go follow it. The Wrestling
Yeah, always a pleasure,
Superfan
man.
Instagram, and I will talk to you later, man. All right.
Well, that about does it. I want to thank the Wrestling Superfan on Instagram. Once again, his handle is the Wrestling Superfan, and I think this went very well. And I'd like to thank you for listening to the show, and I'd like to thank you for all the support. And I will see you next time on the DMF.